Hey everybody, Brimstone here. Today I got episode 7 review of the King of the Hill revival series. That's season 14. It's not a reboot, it's a revival. They literally just did a time skip. At the end of the video, I'll make sure to link my arcing review of the whole season, the good, the bad, and the ugly of it. And yeah, but before we get into this video, if you do like what you're hearing, if you don't like what you're hearing, like, dislike, sub, share this out there, leave a comment below. And yeah, so where to start with this one? Peggy realizes that everybody is on their apps all the time, dealing with Min and Nancy at their home, at Nancy's house, and Nancy is just on her app and looking over things on the neighborhood app and gossiping about what's going on, and nobody's going outside, nobody's interacting anymore, and Peggy doesn't like this. So what Peggy does is she sets up a small bookstore, the small book nooks in front of her house with a little bench, and it goes really well. People are going by, grabbing books, leaving books, all that stuff. And that's absolutely fantastic to see. I personally am a rather prolific reader. If you can't tell what's in my background, when I'm not doing stuff, I'm reading. It's really relaxing. But no, so Peggy decides to set up this book nook, and she gets a bunch of free books from a yard sale or something, or I don't know. They don't tell how she gets them, but she gets some books and puts it all together. And everybody's doing really well. Unfortunately, there was a small problem where the books actually had bed bugs in the spine. So Peggy has bites all over her arm, and it's spreading to the neighborhood. And Dale breaks the news to her. And this episode was dedicated to Toby Huss. There's a little thing at the end. But Dale basically tells her that it's the bed bugs. They're going to hate you. They're going to hate reading and everything. So Dale starts a misinformation campaign while he's eliminating the bed bugs because he is an exterminator. And they go through this whole story. And eventually they all are bickering in front of Peggy's house. You cheated on me, you're going to get divorced, that, figuring out who does all this stuff. And Peggy just goes, look, it was me, but look what it's done. It's gotten you out of your house. It's gotten you reading. It's gotten you doing things that you used to do that you just don't do anymore, which is absolutely true. We all spend so much time on our phones, on our computers. We don't do anything anymore. We don't even human interact. We look at a doorbell and not get up off the couch to check it, and we just check the Ring camera. So this is good. And at the end of the whole Peggy arc and the Arlen self-contained story is they all have a big book burning of destroying the bed bugs, and people are going off them online saying stuff like, the rednecks can't read, and my personal favorite, sterilize them, because they're doing a book burning in the middle of Texas. So that's the arc for the story of Arlen, what is happening there. Now we're going to get into the far more important story of this, that's Bobby's. And this one was really, really good. Like, it shows something we barely got in the first season, and it's good to see more of it in the next one. So we start off with, it segues after the whole book starting thing. This one also segues into a parallel story about Willow coming over for dinner. And Willow is a vegan, and you know how Hank and Peggy feel about anybody who doesn't eat meat. But she's like, what do I make her? Stuff like that. But before this, I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. Bobby is in his restaurant talking to his favorite customer, and his favorite customer has a heart attack, dies, and he goes to the funeral, and he realizes that this guy was just like his dad. He did everything just like Hank. And his son is up on the podium saying, I wish I had more time with him. I should have told him I did stuff more and loved him. So this burns Bobby into doing something with Hank, which is really good because they didn't really bond well in the first season. I mean, they had good moments, but one of the things about it was that boy ain't right, because Bobby was just his own person and didn't conform to what Hank wanted and always marched to the beat of his own drum. And that put a lot of tension between them. So they start off, and he goes home and he's talking to Willow, his girlfriend, and he's like, I need to do something with my dad. And she's like, well, I know the head of the Dallas Cowboys fantasy camp. We can always go there. And she's like, yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic. So they go to dinner, and he tells Hank, and Hank's like all excited. He even takes a jab at Bobby under the guise of, this isn't one of those this isn't like a ashtray that I have to be proud of. You pretend to be proud of. This is actually something really good. And Hank being Hank. And Willow's like, yeah, I'm coming too, which really puts a damper on everything. And I didn't really think I would like Willow a lot, but this episode actually made me like her and dislike her all in the same run. So they go to the fantasy camp and they meet around, and they're having, Bobby and Hank are bonding, like really, really bonding. They're having a good time. Bobby actually proves he's a little bit more of an athlete than he was in high school. And when he was younger, he actually catches the ball. He does struts. He does everything they need to during the fantasy camp. And the whole arc, Hank is all about telling Jerry Jones, who's apparently the owner of the Cowboys — I'm not a sports guy, forgive me — that he wants to tell him about this gaga play that would make the difference for the Cowboys and everything. So they go through the episode of constantly Hank and Bobby bonding. But what was really cool was Willow is actually a football nut. Her dad used to work for the Cowboys. So she knows how to play football. She knows how to do all this stuff. And Hank and Bobby, the whole through after they find out, are all, well, this is great. This is football. This is, how the heck did she learn how to do this? And then she tells her that my dad used to work for the Cowboys and everything like that. So they go through this whole thing. And so by through the episode, Willow starts bonding with Hank, which defeats the purpose of Bobby being there. So they go and they are on the field, and at some point earlier in the episode, they're like, hey, is Jerry Jones around? No, he likes to stay away. And then one of the other people at the fantasy camp was like, if you see a shadow up in the office, you will, he's there, and you'll know he's there. So later in the episode, they're winding down, they're coming off of the thing, and Willow goes up and goes in the office and takes a picture of Jerry Jones and takes a squat over his desk. All this while Hank and Bobby see Willow's shadow in there and try to sneak in to talk to him, to tell him about this play. Now, they open the door, and Willow is squatting on the desk over a picture of Jerry Jones and doing exactly what you think she's about to do. And she does. It drops right as Hank and Bobby enter, and Hank goes full Hank. So they make their way out, and Willow's chasing after them, and they're talking like, we can never come back here. We can never go back to this camp. We can never come back to the Cowboys Stadium. And Willow catches up, and she's like, look, I'm sorry what you saw and everything like that, but he deserved it. My dad used to work for him until he got fired, and then he started drinking Long Island iced tea without the ice. And then it just got heavier drinking from there. So Willow's father lost his job with the Cowboys and ended up becoming an alcoholic, which was rough on Willow's life, and she hates Jerry Jones for firing him. And Hank's like, well, I can't fault you there. He also fired the great Tom Landry. So they get into the car, and Willow's not there. She does her own thing. And Jerry Jones actually walks into his office at this point with a cell phone and says, yeah, it's happened again. Apparently there's something with the Cowboys I don't get. But Hank and Bobby are driving home, and they have a good heart-to-heart, and they're talking about Willow and his relationship, and Bobby actually goes, I need to break up with Willow because I'm still in love with Connie. And Hank's just like, yeah, you really better be careful about that one and how you end that relationship due to Willow's, dropping a toozy on freaking Jerry Jones's desk. And that sets us up for the rest of the season. This episode, I would give a 7 out of 10. It had heart, but more importantly, it had the great bonding, even though it was a little bit, but a great bonding of Hank and Bobby in the older years, something they didn't get to do when Bobby was younger because Bobby was just so off-putting to Hank. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments below. Add your feedback. I'll be more than happy to hear it. If you didn't like the video, feel free to dislike. If you did, like away. And yeah, if you want to see more of this stuff, more low-key stuff that flies under the pop culture radar, hit that sub button. I try to cover everything that comes across my feed without flooding my channel. And yeah, thanks for coming. Have a great rest of your day.